Welcome to the USATF Level 1 coaching module on Racewalk event group. Racewalking is an endurance event taking from 6 to 300 minutes depending on the distance raced. It's a simple action repeated 3 to 4 times per second. This means it is a cyclical motor skill like swimming, cycling, rowing, or cross-country skiing. The high school and USATF Junior Olympics, the race distances are 1,500 meters or 3,000 meters. Collegiate and USATF under 20s will race 3,000 to 10,000 meters, while age 20 and over have opportunities from 3,000 meters up to 50 kilometers. These will take between 11 minutes and 4.5 hours. Racewalk. Like all of the event groups, sports science principles apply. So everything you have learned about linear and angular motion, Newton's laws of motion, contractile mechanisms in muscles, energy systems, and so on are all equally applicable in racewalking. In the same way, all coaching principles apply when coaching racewalkers. Everything you have already learned about progression, accumulation, variation, context, overload, and recovery are equally applicable. Specific adaptation to imposed demands is particularly important. Whilst racewalkers can run in training, specificity means that racewalkers must do substantial amounts of racewalking in training. We can consider 4 areas over which the coach has some level of control: the development of physiology, biomechanics, psychology, and error avoidance. If we look at racewalking versus running, we take identical twins, we find there is a difference in biomechanics. Racewalking has about half the impact forces, it has a higher cadence, and it requires more core strength for stability due to the straight leg on landing. When teaching racewalking, do not start by telling beginners the rules. This simply tells them what they should not do, as opposed to teaching them. The method for teaching is to first show the movements by skilled participants, either live if available or in video. There are example videos available online, either through this QR code or URL. We teach first posture. In racewalking, the athlete should remain upright, their eyes to the horizon, the shoulders stay low and relaxed, with the elbows at a constant 90 degrees. We next teach the action in which the arms swing back and forth such that it drives the opposite hip forwards. The right arm back, right hip forwards. The hips should rotate parallel to the ground. In this drill, we keep the legs straight, remaining stationary, not moving forwards. Swing the hand from the sternum, swing back behind the shorts. The action of the arms causes the hips to rotate parallel to the ground. We then teach the leg action. The athlete will take a short step in front of the body, strike on the heel with the leg straight, and it will remain straight until it is upright underneath the body. They then consciously bend the knee as the leg passes behind the body, causing the rear foot to roll to a vertical position. So here we see this put together in slow motion: short step in front, land on the heel, straight leg up until upright, bend the knee behind the body, rolling up onto the tip of the toes with a vertical foot. This QR code and URL will take you to a simple first lesson example that you can replicate or share as a video with athletes. We also teach beginners what we call a body check. When they're racing or training, they should have a conscious checklist they can go through to make sure their technique is legal and efficient. Eyes to the horizon, shoulders low and relaxed, elbows at a constant 90 degrees, generally upright, short step in front, heel strike, straight leg until upright, bend the knee behind the body, roll the rear foot to vertical. While it seems like a long list, it's simply from head down to toe, checking each body part. We also need to teach in one of the first lessons how to start, either in training or in races. The same rules for running races apply to racewalking. Start behind, not on or over a line. When everyone is still, the gun will fire. We start with the opposite arm and leg leading and the knees bent. The gun fires. We push by straightening both knees. We drive an elbow back and the opposite leg drives forwards. We land on the heel with the knee straight, and we use race walk form from the first heel strike onwards. A complete video on starting is available with this QR code or through this URL. Let's look at the rules. Race walking is a progression of steps so taken that the walker makes contact with the ground so that no visible to the human eye loss of contact occurs. What is meant by no visible loss of contact means up to about 40 milliseconds, which is invisible to the unaided human eye. You can catch it with cameras and videos. Probably more important for beginners is the straight leg rule. The advancing leg must be straightened, meaning not bent at the knee, from the moment of first contact with the ground until the vertical upright position. The athlete on the right has a straight leg. The athlete on the left is landing with a bent knee. This rule prevents pushing off using the quadriceps, which is the primary way that running is achieved. During races, judges may show yellow warning paddles that do not lead to disqualification. The L shape indicates a bent knee, the squiggle, loss of contact. If an athlete receives a yellow paddle, the coach should have told them what to do. They need to consider these yellow paddles as coaching tools. It's like brushing a high jump bar without it falling. The correct action is to politely acknowledge the judge that they've seen the yellow paddle, and then to go through the body check and to correct form. In the event that the judges feel that the mode of progression is not within the rules, they will write a red card, which is taken by a runner, shown on the left, to the DQ board and the recorder. The DQ board, shown on the right, is a public display for the athletes to see, showing any red cards that have come in. Here's another example. The correct reaction to seeing a red mark on that DQ board is again a body check and form correction, and slowing down is rarely the right answer. You get 3 red cards, you are fouled out. That means the chief judge will either show you the red paddle or tell you after the race that you've been disqualified. The correct action to coach athletes is to politely acknowledge the chief judge and then remove their front number. In the event that they're in a race that has time penalties after 3 reds, have a plan with your athletes. If they receive 3 reds, they're in the penalty area, they should stretch, stay calm, go through a body check, and then leave the penalty box with a legal start. How do we transfer the skill from declarative to procedural memory? It starts as a verbal set of instructions that are recalled slowly to hardwired movements that are much more rapidly recalled. We start by doing bends and straights. We go fast on the straightaway, easy round the bends, focusing on good technique along the straightaway. Once this is looking in good order, we go 100, 200, 300, 200, 100 with a 100-meter recovery between. Or we move up to longer repetitions. Good example is 300-meter reps with 100 meters recovery between. At their first race, we videotape and we frame grab because video is too confusing. There is too much information for a beginner. We frame grab and mark any errors they should correct. We We start by locating the flaw through video. We then share this with the athlete to make them aware. And then we prescribe a change in technique. We literally tell them what they need to change. We also have a set of verbal and visual cues that we agree with the athlete, so if it recurs in a race or training situation, the coach can remind them of the correction. Provide rapid feedback. This can be done in real time, such as with mirrors, or in this case, with a camera system. Or the coach can simply shout corrections to the athlete. We can also use slow motion video, such as on a phone, and for clarity we can put colored tape on anatomical markers to help illustrate any problems with technique. Treadmills are also great because you can get front and back views for multiple strides, which is more difficult to do on a track. We have a flaw correction video available through this QR code or URL. We move on from biomechanics to physiology, and we find that race walking elicits the same max VO2 and same heart rates and same lactate dynamics as running. This means that we have identical heart rates, ventilation, perceived exertion and respiratory exchange rates at the same levels of work. Therefore, you can apply what you already know about running coaching by calculating time multiplied by effort to attain training load. So if your athletes are doing 5 by 1,000 in 3 minutes, which is their VO2 max, you can then have your race walkers do 5 times 3 minutes at VO2 max. Although they will cover a shorter distance, it will give you the same training effect. Another example is to send your race walkers and middle distance runners out for their tempo workout along a path with the instruction to go at tempo pace and turn at 10 minutes. They should all get back after 20 minutes, although the runners will have gone further, and they will all have the same training effect. We have a video explaining all of this available through this QR code or URL. We move on from there to psychology. Race walking requires more focus than running and greater psychological resilience because of judging and needing to focus on technique. We also know that pacing errors are even more detrimental in race walking. Now, pacing is a learnable skill, and we need to teach them to focus on process, not outcome. We know there will be technique failures at the end parts of a race, and these are associated with either going out too fast for their current fitness or sprinting all out in the closing stages of a race. We need to coach for SMART goals and to control internal voice. So make sure that the athletes have some positive phrases ready to replace any negative self-talk that creeps in, particularly when being judged. Moving on to error avoidance, we should rehearse all aspects of racing during training. So try out different tapers, find effective warm-up routines, test any equipment, new footwear or apparel, and also practice drinking at race speed. Talent ID. We want athletes who are able to learn motor skills, and if they have a background from middle distance, long distance, cross country, swimming, cross country skiing, or cycling, those are all useful start points. We have a YouTube playlist of videos that I've mentioned available, and there's some additional material there through this URL or QR code. Thank you for listening to the Level 1 coaching module on race walking.